Today we have a special episode where we feature two unique perspectives from Bentley Motors. Andy Moore, Chief Data Officer, and Niamh Frogley, Data Science Apprentice. As Bentley navigates its early data journey, Andy discusses his forward-thinking vision.
If you can demonstrate your competence, then you very quickly get that trust that you are the right person to talk to, and therefore that you're listened to regardless of grade, gender, role or anything else.
While Niamh highlights the invaluable opportunity to learn and earn through apprenticeships.
I learn by doing. So going to university and learning the technical knowledge is great, but if I don't implement it, it's not solidified. So I think that was also a good point as to why I chose apprenticeships.
This exemplifies how Bentley got ahead of the curve, maximising the apprenticeship levy to benefit both the organisation and its future leaders.
We did a future skills scan to say, where do we think the industry is going? What skills are we going to need in the future? So things like UX designers, software designers, and definitely data scientists, they were clearly on the radar that we needed to bring in the future. And the degree apprentice programmes are a great opportunity to bring new people into the business.
Enjoy this insightful conversation. Andy, Niamh, let's talk data. So this is new territory today because we've got three guests.
Yeah.
So who have we got with us here?
So we brought our Bentley Ninja Bear,
Amazing.
which is gamifying our data literacy programme.
Oh, amazing. I love that. And he's a black belt, is he? He's worked his way up.
He's gone all the way up black belt.
Expert level.
Love that. Well, what I want us to start with is think about when you were both 16 years old. Where did you think you would be today? Was it in the world of data or somewhere completely different?
I think maybe not data for me specifically, but it was definitely numerical.
Okay.
Within that aspect. I think when I was at school, my strongest subject was maths.
Yeah.
I was good at other subjects, but I just wasn't interested in them. So I think when I was looking for careers and what to do next, it would either be go to university for maths and maths only, or into a job that was around statistics or mechanics or something like that was definitely numerically involved rather than literacy, because English, I was good at it, but I just hated it.
Yeah, there's good alignment there. So did you know data as a career was... No. Didn't exist.
I think at school, it's very much drilled into you of university. So apprenticeships weren't really a thing that I'd even considered before I got to the end of A-levels. So I never, and to be honest, I didn't really do my homework around careers of, which career path do I want to go into? I kind of just left it till last minute. So it was only until I was searching for or trying to find a job that was around numeracy but not a maths teacher, because I couldn't be a maths teacher, that I actually thought, data, I could go into the data world, and because there's so many options within that, it's not just one narrow straight path. So there's lots of options. I could go in and think, well, I don't know, data science might not be for me, so I can just go into data analytics, or I could go into software engineering. It's quite broad of things that you can do. So I think that was a good option, but I definitely didn't think, no, I want to go into data and that's that.
Yeah, although it is a completely different world and landscape to what it was maybe when you were 16. So how about when you cast yourself back to being 16?
A lot longer ago for me than Niamh, definitely. And data wasn't really a career at all at that point. I just, again, maths was my strongest subject.
Right.
I did go down the university route at the time, but I did acoustics engineering as a degree.
Okay.
And yeah, that kind of led to the career I've had and led me to now. But yeah, when I was 16, I didn't think this was a career. I'm older than Google, which amuses my kids no end. But yeah, it's really interesting how these digital careers have evolved.
Yeah.
And the job descriptions and job roles have changed so much.
Yeah.
Even in the last 5-6 years, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you joined Bentley, that wasn't a data career either, was it?
No, I joined as an acoustics engineer,
right?
Which was all about capturing data and then reporting back on that data to make decisions. So it wasn't directly a data career, but it was still heavily around capturing data and reporting and getting outcomes from data.
Mm-hmm. Then fast forward to today then, what does data look like at Bentley?
So we're fairly early on our journey. The data office is now 18 months old. That we've built from scratch. I was in a different role previously and then moved into this role. And we're now bringing together the different areas of the business to get value from data, building out governance, building out the Data Dojo, which is our literacy program, building out our tech stack, as well as working with different areas of the business to get data.
Yeah, so amazing that as an apprentice, you're very early on in data strategy as well. So no doubt a lot of greenfield projects that you're working on.
Yeah, definitely. I think to see, because when I joined, it's when we first implemented Tableau.
Right.
So I think by luck have been there from the very start. And to see the difference in how we were compared to how we are now, I think there's a lot of people talking about data and how all of the decisions and actions that we put in place are data driven. Whereas before, I think it was an afterthought. It was more like what has happened. Now it's, oh, this is happening. And where we're going is we need to see what is going to happen. So the mindset has definitely switched in the past 5 years.
Yeah, definitely.
I've been at Bentley.
Yeah.
So and to see people who wouldn't have normally thought about data are now actually thinking about it. And I think it is off the back of the data literacy program that we've put in place.
Yeah.
And also the support and help from the data office that we've had. I think even the shift in the last 18 months from when the data office was implemented is insane.
Yeah. Well, you do need the whole business behind you, don't you? Because it's not just a data strategy, it's a business strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Andy, was it your idea to get apprentices within data science and the wider data team?
Yeah, so about 7 years ago now, we created a digitalisation department,
Right.
With the aim of accelerating and adopting new technology, of which data was part of my field. And as Niamh said, we introduced Tableau. And as part of that as well, we did a future skills scan to say, where do we think the industry is going? What skills are we going to need in the future? So things like UX designers, software designers, and definitely data scientists, they were clearly on the radar that we needed to bring in the future. And the degree apprentice programs are a great opportunity to bring new people into the business that aren't that have grown up with a phone in their hands and have a different mindset to people that have spent 20 plus years in a career. So it's great to bring that different aspect in. Data science was definitely on the radar then. The data scientist job description didn't exist back then. There was no data office. There was no job description for data science. We could just see the wave coming. So put together a proposal to say, let's set up the digital talent pipeline and build from there, with confidence that in time the roles would start to appear. And they have come through in the data office now, and some of the functions are also taking on data scientists as well. So it's about trying to get ahead of that curve and start something, and bring in talent as well to develop talent to bring a new mindset.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you looked ahead, because so many people, especially with hiring, just think about now or the next 3 to 6 months, but really to have that vision of what would be required. And did you get the backing instantly from the wider business?
Yeah, so I very much saw the pain point from my previous role as an ops manager in engineering, because we were doing the almost direct line succession planning. So if you had role A today, you needed to bring in role A in the future. So I could see with short-term cycle planning, it was going to be a challenge to bring different talents in. But as we brought the digitalisation department in, then we presented to the board at the time and said, we think this is a thing we need to invest in. We've already got the degree apprenticeship levy anyway, so let's leverage it, and let's put a team together so that the people that come into the programme are supported, because it's not just one apprentice on their own in a function. It's a team of apprentices. At the time, there was different skill sets together to complement each other, but people could go on that shared learning journey.
Yeah, that's
and as we've
important.
developed it, we've now got Niamh's nearly at the end. We've got third year, second year, first years, and there'll be a new intake September. So it's a really nice pipeline now, and it's great to see the support that's available from immediate peers as well to help each other and help the next year below coming through. So it's really nice to see that cohort coming through.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So in terms of the levels, because there are different levels, aren't there? So does it go up to degree? level? Is that level 6?
Yeah, so within Bentley we have from level 3, I think, to level 6 that goes to the degree.
Amazing.
And I was on the level 4 data analytics, which is like, I think it's equivalent to A-levels, higher A-level education. And then I moved up to the level 6. I think there is opportunity for level 7, which is masters as well, and maybe even PhD. But I don't know of anyone who's got that yet.
Not currently.
I think data science degrees are even quite new in
They
themselves.
are. We're all navigating like new paths with it.
Yeah,
so.
I think my degree, I'm the 3rd cohort, I think.
Wow.
So there's, or maybe even, the 3rd cohort, and there's about 30 of us on our course. The year below, I think there's about 9 is there. So it's still really new. Not many people are doing it. So I don't think we've got the PhD yet, but I think that probably could be something implemented in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you already offer degree level is amazing.
Yeah.
So you knew at a young age you didn't want to go to university. Why was that?
Probably because I was self-aware and knew that I would not study 100% of the time, and I'd probably be out socialising.
Right.
And I just knew that, and my personal opinion was, well, if I'm going to do that, I may as well get a job so I can actually afford to fund the social life. But also because it just made sense to me. With an apprenticeship, you have the degree that's paid for. I pay for absolutely zero pennies of that. Andy does instead. I get the full qualification for free, and I get 4 years of work experience.
Yeah.
On the degree path, but I get 6 because I did the level 4, which was an extra 2 years. So 6 years of work experience with a full qualification that is equivalent to if I just went straight to uni. And I also will have had 6 years of full paid work. So, and I'll come out debt-free, qualification and work experience.
Yeah.
So I'll, if I do say so myself, be head and shoulders above people who've just come out of university, because I will have the work experience, but it's work experience within a business. So you have like even just like writing a business email, that university students don't have that kind of experience, or networking within a business. I'll have networks from outside of Bentley and on LinkedIn and stuff, and you don't have that same level of experience with university.
Yeah, it's
so
true.
To me, it just made sense. Obviously, there's some pathways where you have to go to university, but with mine, it wasn't a necessity. So that's why I chose to go for an apprenticeship instead.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You can work, learn and earn all at the same
Yeah.
time. And for me, I suppose I was lucky because I did a degree with a sandwich year.
Yeah.
So with that industry experience, the 4th year made so much more sense.
Yeah.
And I did, like you said, I was in an office in London at Debenhams because I did business marketing, and I felt very professional. And then I came back, I was like, right, now I get it. You join the dots together.
Yeah.
Where at first, I think that's good that you've got that self-awareness. You know, I do think obviously university, you're living independently, you get different skills, but it is a route that for me, we probably had a similar education in the sense that at sixth form, it was like, that's the only route, university. I didn't really get the option to think about what else was out there, because really the way they position apprenticeships at that time was if you want to be a tradie or a hairdresser or certain things like that, you know, you could go down that route. But now you could be a solicitor, an architect, all these amazing vocations that really you don't have to go to university, and it makes it a lot more accessible for those who, you know, university isn't an option.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And going back to the point that you made, I'm also I learn by doing. So going to university and learning the technical knowledge is great, but if I don't implement it, it's not solidified. So I think that was also a good point as to why I chose apprenticeships. But that was also a very similar experience that I had as well. I was there, and I don't know if it's just because high schools have like stats that they have to hit for certain percentage of kids go to university, but I think there was about 20 of us that didn't want to go to university, and it was a straight up, no, I'm not going. And it was still like, well, maybe you should write a personal statement because, you know, you might change your mind.
Yeah.
And we were like, no, I'm not changing. I'm not going to university. But we still got made to do the personal statement. And we had a careers advisor, but there wasn't that. They didn't have the knowledge to be able to pass on to us to say, look, there are other options, and it's not just, university is not the only pathway that you can go down. But there was, we did a quiz as well about what would you like to do when you're older, because many of us were still, I've got no idea what I want to do. So we did this quiz, and mine came out as a London taxi driver or a fishmonger, which is definitely not what I wanted to do. But it's just, that just shows there
needs to be a shift.
Yeah.
Because I'm surprised hearing this, because I feel like it was similar when I was at school, but that was a good few years, before you.
Might not be that much different.
I think it is a bit, but we won't delve into my age too much. But anyway, that is the thing. I can't believe it's not advanced. And that's where I suppose businesses do have the responsibility as well to go into schools and strike those partnerships with educational programs to let them know what is out there, because it's not really for the teachers to necessarily know. I mean, they're busy with the day job as well. So Andy, if there are businesses out there who want to utilise apprenticeships, what advice would you give them to take in those steps?
Yeah, so I think, and again, to the point of teachers and parents don't necessarily consider apprentices, because in their day it was trade apprentices rather than professional apprentices. So there is a lot of communication. We've done a lot of work to communicate. In Cheshire and Warrington, there's a local enterprise partnership with something called The Pledge, which is where employers work with schools together to talk about career paths.
Right.
So it's about constantly trying to spread that message of degree apprenticeships are a valuable and viable option for a lot of people, and encouraging my team to go back to their schools and go to other schools to talk about it. Because I think when you can see someone that's successful in the role, it brings it to life a lot more than, there's this theoretical route. But when you see someone actually doing it, you go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe it is possible for me as well then.
Yeah. And for you, as this is a new territory for you as well, how have you found the experience? Because, you were kind of not just getting one or twos, like you said, it's a whole cohort, which is amazing. But that's quite, a responsibility to take on, when you've got your day job to do as well. So how have you found that and managing it?
Yeah, and I think, like I say, the power of the cohort is they can support each other.
Yeah.
So although I am spread too thin and can't spend as much time as I'd like to spend with individuals, by having that peer group, they're able to self-support each other, and they're not feeling on their own, because they can probably relate to each other much easier than they can relate to me. So, and there is wider support in place as well. At Bentley, within our HR team, we have an early careers team that look after all the early careers across the various apprenticeships across the business. So there's wider pastoral support within Bentley anyway. So there is lots of support available. It's not all on me.
Yeah.
And also I work with managers across the business to work on placements. So you're working in the quality department at the minute. We work closely with the leadership there, and they see the real benefit as well, because you effectively act as that link back into the data office to get more from it as well. If they don't quite understand how to leverage their data well enough, then Niamh can work as that independent kind of that bridge between technology and business outcomes.
Right. Okay.
And that benefits everyone then. It benefits the leaders in the function. It benefits me getting closer to the business as well. And it benefits from you from, that skill of being able to talk data to business and business to data.
Of course.
It also gives like a wider view of the business as well, because we used to be in a function called digitalisation, which was separate to the rest of the business. And so we would go into the different areas on placements, and it was to help the business, but it also helped us because it gave me a view of what actually the different areas did. Yeah. And when I was going through those functions, that gave me like a well-rounded view of the whole business, and it helps you when you go into a different function, because you can actually relate to what's happening because you've seen it in the previous function. You can sort of like piece bits of information together, and I think ultimately it benefits us and it benefits the stakeholder, because you can ultimately provide more information and more informed information to them, because you've got that knowledge of the whole like functionality of the company.
Yeah, it's key. You know, Ben Francis, obviously the CEO of Gymshark, he says to go from founder of a startup scale up to the CEO of the power of the business now, he took a step back and spent time with each area of the business to really understand what they did.
Yeah.
And that's where he thinks has led him to the success he's at now. And it is key because so many people like, oh, what do data do? What do HR do?
Oh,
what
yeah.
do IT do? And
IT
it's,
do
you know,
nothing.
yeah, exactly. Or only know about IT when something goes wrong, not when you're keeping the lights on. So it's almost that, we should care, really. And, it's that camaraderie as well between the different teams. So do you relay that information back then?
Yeah, definitely. I think to go into that area and to be able to provide and share the knowledge, I think it creates like a clearer vision for both parties, because when you're not in that situation, you can't appreciate and understand what actually happens. So it's easy to pass comments like, oh, what do IT even do? But actually, when you go into the area and you see the mayhem that is IT, it gives you that understanding and that, what's the word?
Yeah, the perception from another viewpoint.
Yeah, you can see it, and then you think, actually, that was a silly comment to make, because they do a lot. We just can't see it because it isn't a final product.
We're ignorant to it otherwise.
It's not like a vision, a piece of, like an object in
not tangible.
so you can't see it. But actually, there's a lot that goes on.
There is a lot goes on. And then in terms of the projects you work then, when did you decide like they're going to roll with this and take ownership of this piece of work? Like, do you delegate the tasks to the apprentices?
The projects, and I think we as part of the IT transformation, we now have planning increments, quarterly planning cycles. So the big projects go into there to prioritise. But then the smaller projects would come out of the placement. So if you're in a placement in a particular area, then you'd work with that area to understand how you can best add value within that area to get outcomes. Because again, I'm really keen that the placements are project focused, so that there's an outcome. Because you need the projects for your degree to form part of that, but it's also much more powerful from a learning and an outcomes perspective if there is a tangible outcome from it, a data product, whether it's a dashboard or a machine learning model or some outcome. It's a lot more focused then to agree those outcomes as part of the placement.
Yeah, and that ownership is so important. Sometimes I think there's a stereotype with apprenticeships, like it's almost work experience.
Yeah.
When you go in and you're making cups of tea and whatnot. And, those small tasks obviously play a part of roles at a certain level, but also it is really giving you the responsibility and putting trust in you 100%. At whatever level you are to really roll with it. So what kind of projects have you been working on then?
Well, I think Andy throws us in the deep end, but I think you only benefit from it.
Yeah,
from my personal experience anyway. I'm not sure about other people, but the responsibility that's given me, I don't think I would be where I am today without having been thrown in the deep end, because it's sort of like you get thrown in, you get expected to deliver an outcome. You just have to do it. You don't think about it. I think if you stop and think about it, that's when you can then become your own worst enemy and tell yourself that you can't do it and you can struggle. And then actions aren't taken. You don't get the outcomes that you want. So I think the responsibility that we're given, as much as I hate it sometimes, I think it's really beneficial. And I think it's apparent that the IT apprentices, we do have projects that you wouldn't necessarily, if you looked at it from an outsider, assume that an apprentice would take on.
Yeah.
I've worked with within IT. I've worked on a project for the first line, creating some dashboards for them. Within quality, I'm working on a machine learning project, which is part of my dissertation. So that's looking at the defects on the car. I've worked within sales and marketing and finance on an overheads dashboard. It varies. I've worked on lots of different things, but
brilliant.
It's all data visualization or machine learning.
Yeah.
But I find them so interesting. But it's funny to see which areas I would think, maybe I wouldn't want to pursue a career in data analytics in that department. But I think that's another good thing, because it gives you that
Course.
viewpoint of what you do like and what you don't like.
Yeah, you're testing the waters.
Yeah.
And you know how you said about being thrown in the deep end, but really with growth, you know, it's that discomfort.
Yeah.
And being comfortable with that. And, you know, you're just obviously taking it on board. And at first, of course, it's a bit like, oh, gosh, this is new territory. But, you know, having that confidence, and I take it the environment as well, that if it doesn't always go to plan, you know, there's an environment where you can fail and learn from that and test and learn.
100%. I think, well, Andy's always there. If I ever need anything, I'll just send him a Teams, and if he doesn't answer, I'll send him a WhatsApp. But then we do have the support of, there are some other data viz guys within the company that we can bounce ideas off. And I think apprentices at Bentley, they're going back to the traditional apprentice viewpoint. I think people can look at apprentices and think, you're just a trainee, you don't really know that much. But the viewpoint within Bentley is very much, you're a trainee, this is great, you've got lots of new ideas to bring to the company.
Amazing.
So we're very much accepted, and sometimes even lent on by other people. We each look after our own area within the company. And so if people within that function have questions, they come to us, to the data team, so they come to an apprentice, and there's never any like, oh, I don't know if I should be asking you because I don't think you'll know the answer. We're very much respected. So there's definitely that support if we do maybe don't achieve the outcome that we had hoped for or needed. And there's also, again, we lean on each other. We've got quite a tight-knit group within our function, and we're all actually friends. We all go out together outside of work. But just calling each other up for a 10-minute call to say, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
We're all there to support each other. So I think definitely the network that we have within Bentley is really good.
Yeah, and that's key, and it shows that D&I is an important part of the culture as well, because, you know, diversity is one thing, but if you haven't got the structure environment in place, it's ultimately going to fail. But it shows that it's really part of the culture that you've adopted as well, you know, for diverse perspectives or thought. And is that part of the Bentley strategy and your strategy?
Absolutely. And I think, one thing I've definitely noticed over my career is when I started, the board member for engineering was the cleverest person in the room.
Yes.
And he had the ultimate technical opinion and decision, regardless of the specialisms in the room. I think that's definitely changed now. I think people are a lot more open to listening to the technical expert or the knowledge holder at whatever level they are.
Yeah.
If you can demonstrate your competence, then you very quickly get that trust that you are the right person to talk to, and therefore that you're listened to regardless of grade, gender, role, or anything else. And I think, DEI, Bentley definitely takes seriously. I'm passionate about the outcomes because my team overall is 2/3 female.
Brilliant.
Not because I was aiming for it, just because I was asking after the best candidates. But I've seen the benefits of having the diversity of thought, of background, of approaches. That really helps problem solving. It helps moving forwards together. 20 of me wouldn't be much fun. But I think once you learn to embrace that differences, then it's really powerful to move forwards together.
Yeah, it is the idea of meritocracy, because top-down management, you know, only serves an ego, really, isn't it? And that's about it. But, you know, I've certainly worked in environments where it is very much that. And I think people just get so lost in the thought that they don't even know why they do things anymore. It's just because they've always done it that way.
Yeah.
But really just having that openness to new ideas. And they might not always work out, but, you know, you're going to feel more comfortable putting an idea in front of Andy, you know, if you know that you're not going to be laughed at or the idea is going to be taken as his or whatnot, and that can happen. So what do your friends think about your career in data science? Do they understand what you do on a daily basis?
When people ask me what I do, I just say make pretty graphs. That's what, make graphs pretty. But I don't think I tell them a bit, but I don't really go into that much detail because they probably don't really care that much. But I definitely think from an apprenticeship versus university standpoint, I definitely do think there are some of them who would, if they could, go back to where they were at A levels and go into an apprenticeship rather than go straight to university. One of my friends, she's currently in a graduate role, and she's doing amazing for herself, but she had the 4 years at uni and it was just exams. whereas I feel like she probably would have benefited also from going from an apprenticeship standpoint. Also seeing like family friends. We've got a couple of family friends who are going through the thought process now of what GCSEs to take, what A-levels to take. And quite a few of them, we've had quite a few conversations where they've come over to the house and we've had like a chat about what actually are apprenticeships and would it be a more suitable route to take. So I think there's definitely, from a parent's standpoint and also from a younger people's standpoint, I think apprenticeships are definitely becoming more of a favourable option against university.
Yeah.
But like we said before, it is having that knowledge, because if you don't know about them, you wouldn't know that there is that option there.
Yeah, they need to be accessible.
Yeah.
So how did you come about applying to the role at Bentley?
So I knew university was a no, so I just started to Google on Indeed.com. I think my mum actually found the role because my mum and dad were I was lucky enough that they were very active in helping me to decide what I wanted to do, because I just had no idea. So mum found the level 4 data analyst role on the Indeed.com for Bentley, and she suggested it. And I think my reaction was, well, I don't want to build cars, so why would I work for a car company? I have no
Bentley.
interest. Well, I knew that because my dad is a bit of a car head, but that was as much as I knew. But then actually, when I sat down, read into it and Googled it, I actually was like, okay, maybe it isn't building cars. And then that also gave me, sort of told myself that I needed to open my mind to what actually is out there, because I'm quite a stubborn person. So when my mum suggests what job do I want to do, I was a bit like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to work in IT. But yeah, through Indeed.com. And then also after that, I had realised that, so we went to a careers fair and not Barclays, it was at Barclays, but Bentley were there. But I hadn't gone over because I saw a car wheel and thought, yeah, it's engineering, that's not for me. But actually, I probably should have gone over to ask the question. So it's, I think you need to have a very open mind when you're looking at careers and stuff like that, because it's easy to just say no, but if you don't actually go and ask the question, you won't know.
Yeah. How was the interview and application process?
I honestly thought I hadn't got it because I'd applied, I think, the day before the application had closed.
Something like a deadline.
Pressure. So I submitted. I think there were a few questions asking why we'd be appropriate for the role, and then I think it was just straight to we submitted it and it went straight to interview. I think after that, I got the phone call to say that you've got an interview, and I don't think I actually said anything because I was so shocked. But then we had an in-person interview. So it was like, I think there were a few people who were there before us having their interview. Then we came together. So I think there was about 6 of us in a room together to do a group activity, which was something to do with Lego, which was actually quite fun. I think we should redo that again.
Were you involved in that as well?
Oh yeah, because it's part of, it's great to observe, to be an observer. It's good fun.
Yeah.
But,
and then after that, the original guys who were there had left, and then we went on to interviews. So it was like an interactive / formal interview.
Yeah, they call them assessment days, don't they? Actually, someone I'm working with, we're going to set one up for them. But even that word itself can have negative connotations, can't it? If it's interactive session, maybe it's more appealing. Because I think certain words, and even in job descriptions, you must, requirements, and it sounds quite aggressive.
Yeah,
and, the word assessment can be quite scary.
Yeah.
But I like, interactive.
Yeah, and I think that's a great format, the way that we did it. If we go straight into a group activity, it sort of relieves the pressure.
It does, yeah.
And we always say, don't we, because we interview for the apprentices coming in, because Andy likes to get our viewpoint, because we go through the university course, so we can assess whether we think they'd be a good match for that as well. We always say that to get the best out of a person, you want a relaxed candidate.
Yeah.
So sort of having that informal chat at the beginning, I think is really beneficial, because it relaxes the apprentice,
Yeah,
or the
it
candidate,
does.
sorry.
Yeah.
And I found like I benefited more from my initial interview, which was the group activity first and then into an interview, because you sort of get the awkward conversation out of the way, and spirits are relaxed, so it's a bit more, and you can sort of enjoy it. And I feel like when you're less stressed, you can actually remember what you need to
and be yourself more as well. Yeah.
And that's actually a great point. You can see the personality of the candidate.
Yeah.
And that allows us to see if they would also be a good fit in that sense within the team.
Yeah. Yeah. So during those interactive sessions, what are you looking for? What kind of skill set or mindset?
Yeah, and I think the thing I would say about the team building is it can be intimidating to some people.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think there is a risk that some people go into that, and if there's a strong character in the room, then people sit back and think, I've blown the interview now because I didn't say anything in a team exercise. So I am looking for the rounded individual, and again, looking at that different background. When it comes to the CVs, I'm looking for something as well as just academic qualifications, because yes, you need the academic, but something like a Saturday job or something like that for the apprenticeship, that really helps because it shows you can interact with people. And I'm really after, more than anything, someone that's going to take ownership of their journey and take ownership of their learning opportunity and make the most of the opportunity in front of them, because I think you have to take the opportunities that are in front of you. If you sit back too much, then you're not going to get the most from the opportunity, because you are in a work environment, you are dealing with a lot of stakeholders. So looking for someone that can work in that environment.
Yeah, you're right, because an interview can feel pressurised, but so can the work environment as well. So it's just understanding, trying to get the balance.
Yeah.
And with job requirements as well, it's always focused around skills and qualifications, but we don't talk about mindset a lot. And is that something you think about as well? The ownership piece.
Yeah, definitely.
And what else do you think is important? Niamh, have you noticed any traits that are important?
I would always say intuitiveness.
Yeah.
I think that's really important, especially within data, because there's so many different ways that things can be done. It's not always this is done this way. So I think the intuitiveness to go away and think about it, and how can this actually be done, or how can this problem be solved? Is there a better way? Is there a more efficient way? I think that's really important, and can often get overlooked.
Yeah. Anything that you look for?
Yeah, and I think that's regardless of the grade as well, whether it's an experienced professional as well. It's the technical skills are great, but it's how you're going to apply them. And are you going to have the resilience to keep asking questions, to overcome challenges in the workplace, particularly as Bentley is a maturing data organisation. You have to be inquisitive. You have to go out and talk to people, really get to the root of the problem and help propose a solution as well. So it's looking for someone that's able to, not afraid to ask questions and not afraid to get stuck in to help offer a solution and try as well. Have a go.
And we don't talk about that enough, do we? Because it is very much driven towards qualifications. Again, you must have this, you must have that, and then the skills. But what about the person? And I suppose the argument is it's hard to gauge that, but it's asking questions. I always look for this as well, like through university, did you have a part-time job? Say someone's run a marathon or has a hobby, whatever it is, you can get to know them more. And I don't think we focus enough on the person in interviews.
Yeah, and I think we have to go through a competency-based interview. We have to go through a structured and fair process. But I think within that, you can bring a little bit of personality through. And I think that's why I was keen to get Niamh and others to help on the apprentice interviews, because rather than just being faced with me on a camera, but having someone similar age to you, similar position to you, kind of takes some of the pressure off a little bit. And then it becomes a bit more free and a bit more interactive. So, it is so important that it's not just a robotic, I've got this qualification, but actually how are you as a person then? What motivates you? What's your background? How are you going to interact with others? How are you going to take your ownership of your journey? Yeah,
and then they can, as role model, see, believe, be. If you're on the interview, they can really see, oh, right, okay, so rather than you just saying Niamh and the other names of who's in the team, it's like, oh, here's Niamh in front of me and here's her journey. And how amazing for you, though, to have that. I mean, I must be super proud to be like, oh, oh, I'm interviewed today.
Well, yeah, I also we see it from a perspective of if they have any questions, I can answer from an apprentice perspective. It sort of gives them a better insight into what an apprenticeship journey is like at Bentley. But yeah, definitely boost the ego a little to get picked.
Well, I can imagine though, because those things you forget, like what matters a lot to people at a certain level, and it's having a voice and your opinion, and your opinion being something that people want to hear. There's no better feeling, is there?
No.
And a lot of places traditionally it's like you kind of get ignored for a while,
pushed to the side.
So when you were like, come on, interview time, were you like, okay?
I'm like, well, first question.
So what advice would you give to someone then who's thinking about going into an apprenticeship in data specifically?
I would say take every opportunity that you can within reason. Not all opportunities are beneficial, but I think if you don't say yes to the opportunities, you don't get that extra experience that you could get. I think there's a lot of times when you could just, because of, I don't know, maybe confidence issues, people say no to opportunities, and I feel like if that is, you are only blocking yourself in that situation. I feel like as an apprentice as well, we take as many opportunities as you can. We definitely get quite a few from all aspects of the business. Andy puts us up for quite a few as well. And I feel like if I hadn't have said yes to them, I'd be behind on my development on where I am now. And also, it's fun. Why not just say yes?
Yeah. Give it a go. Be brave. And Andy, how about companies or individuals such as CDOs as yourself, they want to bring in apprentices, but the wider business, for whatever reason, aren't bought into the idea? What advice would you give around communication?
Yeah, and it's working in partnership with the HR department. Hopefully they are aware of the apprenticeship levy, and most medium to big businesses have the levy applied anyway. So it's relatively easy to build a business case to say, let's apply this to a degree apprenticeship for data science. Find a university that's local and work with those if they're already offering the apprenticeships. I think it's again about trying something different, isn't it, to bring recruitment in. We always talk about the challenges of recruitment. What better way than to bring someone in at an early age and develop them and grow with the business, and everyone benefits from that relationship there.
Absolutely. And data can help as well, the business case, in terms of success. And the success as well is a social value, isn't it? Like we've said, in terms of social mobility, you'd like to think that those who couldn't access university for whatever reason is something we should be talking about more, because it is a lot more accessible.
Certainly the barrier to entry of the degree fees, if you went full time versus earning and having your fees paid, is such a difference, isn't it? So I think that does make it a lot more accessible for people. Ticking
a lot of boxes. Right, so we're going to move on to the quick fire data lightning round. So I'm going to come to you first, Andy. What's one common misconception about data that you'd like to debunk?
I think data is part of everybody's lives, whether they realise it or not. We all create data, we all consume data. So I think it's just trying to remove that fear around the terminology and big data, but actually it impacts everybody, and we can all have an influence around data.
Niamh?
Damn, that was mine.
That I went first.
Put me on the spot now. Mine is, I think that, so when you think about, this is more of like a, less advice, more just, when you think about, or when I think about data, I think of like a geeky boy sat in the corner coding on a laptop. Data definitely isn't. I think data comes in all shapes and sizes, different backgrounds as well. We spoke about diversity before. It amazed me how different everybody is in data. I think there is that misconception of data is a male, and it is male dominated, but I haven't seen that from where I am, because our office, like Andy said before, is mostly females. But I think there is that perception that if you don't like coding, then data's not for you. But it definitely is. There's lots of stuff, like I live in Tableau, and it's, I also like coding as well, which I thought I would hate, but it's definitely not that there's a lot more variety than you would think.
Yes.
And it's a very accepting world as well, I think, or a very accepting industry. The conferences that we go to, people are lovely.
The community is
very
amazing.
supportive.
You're so right. Because it's a new and evolving space, you're kind of on the journey together.
Yeah.
But you are so right, because data, this is why I wanted to do the podcast, to bring it to a wider audience as well. You know, because when I tell like my friends, like, let's talk data, they're like, oh, I'm not going to listen to that. And I'm like, trust me, listen to it and you will find it interesting, because we could all make better informed decisions in our lives, and it's empowering as well, isn't it? So absolutely, I like that. Okay, next one. Name a book, podcast or event that every data enthusiast should explore.
I don't really read like data books or listen to data podcasts apart from this one, obviously. But I usually take the aspect of, if I need Tableau support or machine learning support, I will Google or on YouTube. So Tableau Tim is someone who I often watch on YouTube. His tutorials are great. He's also got some good Alteryx tutorials as well that I've... Or actually, has he? I'm not sure. He's helped us with Alteryx though. And then also Lorna Brown's Tableau cookbook.
Right.
I won that, and I also use that when I'm developing at work if I'm get stuck on anything. So that's definitely a good book as well.
Brilliant. So you use it like as a handbook?
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay, amazing. Finish this sentence. Data is the key to.
So I was going to say everything, because it is. But I think to put a different spin on it, data is the key to an enriching career.
Yeah.
And I think it's, as Niamh says, it's not just data scientists. There's other roles in data that you can have a career in. We've got people looking after our Data Dojo training program. So that's about community building and driving cultural change. There's roles for data translators of bridging that gap between the business. So I think it can open a lot of paths to a really fulfilling career.
It can. We've not had that spin before, and I really enjoyed that, because the demand is just going to get higher and higher, isn't it? So good answer. If you could give a piece of advice to someone just starting their data career now, what would that be?
It's certainly be inquisitive and ask questions, and don't be afraid to engage with the community. Because, as I say, even if you might be interested in data scientists, you might want to be more front end with the visualization. You might want to be more back end with the coding and the pipeline building. You might want to be on the education and culture side. So I think really be inquisitive and ask questions, and see where that leads to you.
Yeah, so important.
I completely agree with that, but also I think, like I said before, take all opportunities, because I think at the early point of your career, that's a great time to just say yes to everything. Yeah. It really helps you build up your CV. I think my CV is, I wouldn't have half of the stuff on my CV that I do if I hadn't have just said yes, or like taken the opportunity with both hands. So I think definitely explore all options that you've got. It give you a good viewpoint on where you want to go in your career, but I also think take all opportunities, because it allows you to really build up your CV and will stand you in good stead for when you leave your apprenticeship and go to find a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought, this would have been your first podcast, but you've already been on one before. So that's you taking opportunity, and it's brilliant. Good for you. And the last one, in your opinion, what will be the most significant development in the world of data in the next 5 years?
I would definitely say AI.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit scary. What you can actually do with AI, it creeps me out a bit. It's great, but it's also very scary.
It's the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen all these videos of fake videos of celebrities, and it looks really real. I think it's really scary, but I do think we can get great things out of it.
Yes.
I've used ChatGPT, for like, what can I do at the weekend? And it gives me some great examples.
Does it? I've not tried that one.
Like, where can I go out in Manchester? And it gives you a list. It's brilliant.
Oh, do you know what? We were in London the other day, and we said, we've got these meetings in these different places. Please, can you give us an itinerary and recommend a coffee shop? Yes, this coffee shop's great for mingling and but it's not too loud, so it's good for a business meeting as well. And the name, and we were like, wow.
It's insane.
Cool.
It is very
it's
cool.
so good, but it could also be so bad.
Yes.
I think we need to find a medium.
We
for
do.
Sure.
Yes.
But I think that will be it'll be an interesting one to watch it pan out.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
you.
Well done. You're brilliant.